Hey everyone, I'm here for Tarot Tuesday. I got this idea from Katie Flowers. If you don't follow Katie Flowers, go follow her because she's amazing. But she was doing I think it was her 10 tarot decks that surprised her. Now I don't have 10 here, but I do have some decks that surprise me, both positive and negative. So, you know, you see a deck and you get it, and sometimes you're like, oh, I'm not too sure about this deck, and it surprises you in a positive way. And other times you get one thinking you'll love it, and you just don't. Well, that's definitely happened to me, so I'm going to show you my decks. First, I'm going to show you the decks that surprised me in kind of the not so good way, where I thought, I'm going to love this, and I just kind of don't. I want to, but I don't. So, first, we have the Fairy Tarot cards by Doreen Virtue. Now, I have the Angel Tarot cards by her, and I really did enjoy them. And then when I heard she was coming out with a fairy deck, I thought, oh, I love fairies, so I'm gonna love this deck. But I don't. You know, this deck, I think the idea of a fairy deck is great, but this deck, the artwork is not put together very well or conscientiously. There's some pictures in it that are you know, good. They're all right. And then there's other pictures that just look weird and just not quite right. And I'm gonna see if I can find some. Like that, there's this weird collage-y thing, not quite right going on. Like things don't quite match each other. It feels very rushed. It feels like they were like, okay, we got to capitalize on this like this. It's just, it looks like something cut out and put on a photo. It just, you know, which can look good, but it's like, if you're doing a collage and you're deliberately trying to make it look like a collage, that works. But when you're trying to make it not look like one, it doesn't. This, don't like that. It fell really flat, and I really wanted to like this deck. Like this. Look at that guy's face there. Like just weird. Weird, weird, weird. Let's see if it'll focus. There we go. It just, yeah. It's weird. And the other thing that bothered me is she has like winter for air, and I always think of air as spring, and I'm like, oh, I want to fix that. So, because she has like the seasons rather than the suits, and I just found this deck to be just really awkward, just really awkward looking. And so I was not thrilled. I wanted to love it. I love the back, love the gilded size, thought it was a great idea, but it feels rushed, and it feels like there's not a lot of quality put into the pictures. So I was disappointed by this one. So it surprised me in the not so good way, that's for sure. The second one, I'm just gonna put this one back to yellow, that surprised me in the not so good way was the Chrysalis Tarot, which I did want for a while. And it's not that there's nothing wrong with the art or anything like that. It's not as obvious as the fairy deck. The art is beautiful. It's stunningly beautiful. But I just don't quite connect with this deck. And I feel like it's a deck, I'm not ready to put it in the trade pile yet. I feel like, you know, I want to work with it some more. But I thought I would love this deck, and it just didn't really quite speak to me. And I can't really tell you why, but it just didn't. But I am going to continue to give it a chance. I feel like maybe, I guess maybe that's like hope of some kind, wanting it to like be better. I don't know, but I'm gonna just try to work with that. And the other one I kind of felt the same way about was the Wildwood Tarot. I am going to continue to work with it. I thought, you know, I love this kind of artwork. It's a beautiful, sorry, my cat is over there distracting me. It's a beautiful deck. The packaging is beautiful. The book is beautiful. It's got that Celtic vibe that I love. But again, didn't quite connect with it. And I don't know if maybe another time it will. And I love animals. I love all the animals on these cards. it doesn't quite follow, it's got its kind of own little tarot system, and I wonder if that's where I'm getting a little bit tripped up, because I'm very sort of like traditional kind of Rider-Waite style, although I can deal with Thoth decks too, but it's kind of got its own kind of vibe going on, and I'm wondering if I'm just not quite getting there with that. But I thought, oh, I'm gonna love this deck. I would see the art on Instagram and I'd love it, but it just didn't quite connect. And then the other one that disappointed me that I thought I would love is the Byzantine Tarot. The Byzantine Tarot, like, I studied medieval history and art and literature when I was in university. And so when I saw they had a Byzantine Tarot, which is one of my favorite subjects, I was like, yes, Byzantine Tarot. Disappointed though, I have to say. The book is fine. The book is good. It's got a pretty good box too. But I feel like, I don't know if it's because the colors on here just feel kind of muted. Like that one's nice. I feel like they feel kind of pencil crayon-y rather than the tempera and enamel kind of color that I wanted. So I felt like it just didn't quite cut it for me, even though I love this style of artwork. There's just something about this particular deck, like the colors just seem kind of muted and just not quite right or something. But I had a little bit of trouble connecting with this deck. Now there's a lot of Christian imagery in here, but it is a Byzantine Tarot deck, so you know, of course it's gonna have that, and that's fine. But I don't know, it's something about the colors or something that just didn't sit quite right. And again, I'm not quite ready to put this in the trade pile, but yeah, I thought I would love this, and I just didn't quite love it. So I'm gonna put this one aside. I'm gonna give it maybe another chance, but we'll see. So now on to the happier ones. So one deck that was calling me, and I didn't quite know why, because I would see the pictures on Instagram and they wouldn't like totally appeal to me art-wise, but then I just kept seeing it in my local bookstore and I kept feeling drawn to it, and then I got it, and when I started working with it, I just really loved it, and it's the Raven's Prophecy. Definitely not my style of artwork, but I think it's really gorgeous, and I just really connected with it. I find it to be a really creative and very soulful kind of deck. It really speaks to kind of my creative spirit. I love that it's kind of a dark deck. So yeah, I find this deck like a very healing kind of deck, and I wasn't really expecting that from this deck. So this one was a really pleasant surprise for me. It's a very Halloween kind of deck, which I love. So I'll throw that one away. Another one that I kind of bought on a whim. It wasn't really on my radar, and I got it on a whim, and I love it, and I'm really glad that I got it. I'm just gonna struggle to put this in the bag. Come on, let's go in the bag. Oh, why is it not? Struggle with bags. The struggle is real. Okay, I'll work on that later. Was the Greenwich Tarot. Again, it wasn't really on my radar. Kind of was like not really looking, but then I'm so glad I got it. I love this deck. It's beautiful and gorgeous. It's got a lovely summertime feel. It's very pagan. It's very witchy. I love that. The artwork is just, like I said, it's just great. And when I read for people with this deck, people always compliment it. They're always like, oh, this deck is so nice. And it's got like kind of an easy nature about it, where it's gentle, but still, you know, tells the truth. I love this deck. I think it's wonderful. I'm so glad I picked it up. And then the third one was, again, bought it on a whim, is the Hermetic Tarot. Now, I work mostly with Rider-Waite type decks, but I picked this one up. I thought, well, you know, I don't have a black and white tarot, and I could use a Thoth Thoth-ish type of deck. And at first I was like, oh, I don't know about this deck. It's got some weird pictures and stuff in it. But the more I worked with it, like I worked with it in January this year, the more I sort of loved its quirky, in-your-face kind of nature to it. It's very occulty in a lot of ways. Like, look at that crazy cauldron. But this deck kind of has a humor to it. It doesn't take itself overly seriously in a lot of ways. And then it's got these pictures that the more you look at it, the more things you see in it. And it's got all sorts of like esoteric imagery in it. But like I said, it's got this kind of like quirky, in-your-face sort of vibe to it. But sort of, it's got a humor to it too. It's not as serious as the Thoth deck. At least it doesn't feel that way to me. So that one pleasantly surprised me as well. So those are mine. If you are thinking of doing this video, let me know, because I would love to see it. And let me know what decks kind of disappointed you and what ones were you kind of like surprised that you liked. I'd love to know. I'm just trying to struggle to get this back in the box. Anyway, I'll see you all next time.